fish, another one in the basket.
So speaking of the face, it's equally as important as the body because the face is very expressive. We need to make sure that rig is able to produce a necessary facial expression for character animation. So therefore, let's go ahead and talk about the primary controllers. So these are the primary controllers. The global controller to move the head, translate, and also scale if needed to make it big, small. There is an additional controller for the head as well. This head does feature a follow feature, which means you can have it set so that it follows the torso, like so. Or if you disable the follow, you're going to get a feature like this. This is what I like to call the chicken head effect or a bird head effect. So the head will always stay in the same position, same orientation that is, but it will change the position based on the torso movement. Other than that, we have the squash and stretch controller, which is used for smearing and bending the head. So this is the topmost controller. We have this one, and we also have a controller on the bottom. So the face is divided into three sections: the eye and the mid region, and then we have the jaw region as well. And all of them can be distorted and smeared with these smear controls. If you take a look at the other controllers, these are the jaw controller. This is the lower jaw and this is the upper jaw. There are these additional controllers which we can use to jip the lip like so. This is very important. This is also known as sticky lips effect. So basically what this allows us to do is move the jaw, closing the lips. The lips stuck in same position, meaning sticky lips. You can unzip and zip it as you need it, like so. We have these extra secondary controllers. These controllers are used to fine-tune the lips. The lip is very expressive. This is used for dialogues, to create the facial expression on the mouth region. We need to have these secondary controllers so that we have ultimate control over the outline of the lip. Deformation controllers can be rotated, translated as well. Now this character has a special feature of the teeth. You can see these are individual teeth that you can move in around like so, scale as well if needed. They will always follow with the movement of the lip, so this is very intuitive. If you don't need the teeth, you can go ahead and hide them, and this is the normal teeth of the character. Talk about the facial UI controller. So this UI is also known as the joystick based control. This is because these are just like video game arcade joystick, and you can use them to translate around. It's a very intuitive way to pose the character. You can see moving it up creates a smile, moving it down creates a frown, moving it in the translation X direction, in the positive X direction creates a wide and a narrow, and when you go to the extreme position, they will all work together like so. Okay, we have the mouth controller here, which is used for opening and closing of the mouth, at the same time syncing of the mouth as well, to create a ooh and a closed smile like so, and they all work together. Now if I select this controller as well as the lip controller together, you can see that they work in an additive manner. They give you these wide, expressive, exaggerated shapes as well if needed. Inside of the mouth controller, there is another additional controller which is used for extreme shapes like so. So sometimes this character does go to extreme poses, and at that time we use these shapes to create these extreme facial expression. Notice how the lower jaw follows the movement of these controllers, and you can actually select these controllers to scale it, translate, rotate in any direction as you want, and there are these tongue controllers for twisting the tongue and those kind of things. So that is the mouth and the lip controller. All of these controllers work together, the secondary, the primary, and the joystick controller as well. Now let's talk about the eye controller. These are the master eye controller. As you can see, we can select it to move the eye socket around. We can also scale it in any direction as you want, and you can also rotate it just in case. It's very straightforward. There is an eye aim controller like so, which can be used for aiming of the eye. The character has particularly big eyes. The eyes can be moved individually. You can also move them separately as well to create like a cross-eye effect. And then we have the secondary controllers to control the outline of the eyes, so you can quickly change the expression of the character just changing the outline of the eye. This is very, very intuitive like so. So these are all secondary controllers of the eye. Once again, we have the joystick controllers as well. Now these are more like translation controller. This is the blinking of the upper eye, and this is the blinking of the lower eyelid. Now I can control the amount of blink of these controllers as well as needed. There are these master controllers which I can use to blink the entire section, the upper eye and the lower eye. Both of the eyelids will blink together to create a blink. These blinks are not linear blink. These are non-linear blinks, meaning they create a beautiful arc around the eyeball. like so. And when using these blinks, you still have the ability to move this deformation control to change the outline of the eyes as needed. Now, speaking of the blink, if we take a look at these blink controllers, there is something called blink level, which can be used to level the blink as needed. So if I want the lower eyelid to be blinking like so, I can do that. If I just want the upper eyelid to be blinking, I can do that as well. A very intuitive way to get the desired effect on the eyelid. So there are additional controllers for dilating the iris as well as the pupil if needed. Also, we have the ability to move the entire pupil around if needed. This is also quite useful for creating like expression, like if the character is being surprised, if it is afraid, the pupil movement and the iris movement can create this subtle effect to get better expression in the animation. Now, these are the joystick controllers for the nose section and the cheek. The character doesn't have a nostril, so there is no nostril control, but basically we do have the cheek controllers, which are used for controlling the cheek. So there are two controllers, the upper cheek and the lower cheek. And I can also scale this to create the puff of the cheek. Now let's go over the brow region. So these are the main controllers of the brow on the face. So you can select them individually to create some secondary effect. You can select them, the master brow controller, to move the entire brow around. So sometimes, the brow geometry might detach from the entire geometry. If the character is startled, surprised, those kind of expression, we can do that. And they will all work together. So these are secondary controllers, in other words, tweaker controllers. The main controller is the joystick controller. So this one. So if I try to move it up, you can get expression as you need. Up, brow, brow down, and bring the brow squeeze and brow inner up. So if I move them all together, they all work in a combined way. All of these shapes are adding together. And at these extreme positions, they're adding two different individual expressions. But you can see they create a new expression based on the addition of these shapes. And on top of that, you can still go ahead and use the tweaker controls to make necessary adjustment as desired. All right. There you have it. Let me go ahead and move that mouth controller a little bit, like so. And on top of that, if I try to move this deformation controller, you can still see we can get these cartoony effects as needed. All right. So there you have it. That's a quick walkthrough of the character rig demo for this chubby little guy. And if you are interested in learning the techniques needed to rig this kind of character, be sure to check out Puppeteer Lounge rigging training workshop programs. With that being said, thank you for watching and see you next one.